Feminism in Enola Holmes, situating the movie in the history of feminism. As for the movie, Enola Holmes in a 2020 mystery film based on the first book in the young adult fiction series of the same name by Nancy Springer. The story is about the teenage sister of the already famous Sherlock Holmes who goes to London in search of her mother who has disappeared. Enola Holmes is portrayed as an intelligent, independent, and strong character. Her mother taught her many useful skills in life beyond housework. The movie features many elements from the history and waves of feminism, such as Enola's mother involvement in suffragettes or women's suffrage in the United Kingdom. In its debut weekend, Enola Holmes was the second most watched item on Netflix. The conceptual framework, the feminism waves. Monroe 2013 summarizes the waves of feminism as well as their focus as follows. As for the first wave, fighting injustice in terms of property ownership and suffrage. The second wave, impact of sexism and patriarchy on every aspect of women's private lives, focused on housewives and how unhappy they are, treated women as homogeneous all the same. The third wave, first, a more inclusive feminism was introduced. Women are not the same. The idea of race made feminism look too general and not suitable for women of different races or classes. 3. Women called for multiple feminisms. The last one, ideas of gender and sex were questioned by the inclusion of homosexuality and other concepts. As for the fourth wave, motivated by internet, women can call out or expose male oppressors or attackers. Continued the third wave, ideas focusing on how media and everyday discourse is sexist. Literature review. In Double Life, a new Victorian girlhood in the fiction of Liba Berry and Nancy Springer, Fred's 2012 explores how the double life in Nancy Springer's novel illustrates how the author managed to package the Victorian past for the taste and demands of contemporary readers. Springer portrays Victorian girls who lead double lives. Springer's Enola Holmes, the metafictional teenaged sister of Sherlock Holmes, disguised herself to solve mysteries while maintaining the appearance of being a normal girl. Fritz analyzes how the novel participates in postmodern discourse on girlhood that frame the girl as a psychologically complex individual whose socially produced subjectivity can be both transcendent and fragmented. This research is similar to mine in the sense that it touches on feminism, but also in the concept of subjectivity or how a girl can define herself as different and individual. Mons 2019 looks at many novels about the new Victorian age. He sees the novel as directed to an audience not yet qualifying as young adult. He looks at how Enola rebuilds her corset so that it offers her protection. She has been saved from knife wounds more than once by her steel boning and changed her shape to make her seem more mature and storage space of money. Mons looks at how the corset are the symbol of females following strict rules and wearing uncomfortable clothes that mean to make them look formal, becoming symbols of self-control and strength of will. All the novels that Mons analyzed show new Victorian young adult characters who rewrite the corset for contemporary understanding in order to explore a new conception of Victorian girlhood. This article still touches on feminism and female empowerment, but focuses more on symbolism and how an object can signify the same thing in many novels. However, the similarity with my research lays on the fact that it studies female power and empowerment from within themselves. The conceptual framework will be the feminism waves, multiple subjectivities of individual women. The idea shows women as individuals. Each woman has different strengths, weaknesses, and identity. Intersectionality focuses on how each woman's struggle in a patriarchal society meet with feminist views. Bajan calls this view a recoding of femininities or rewriting feminism to fit every woman. Analysis. The movie within waves of feminism. The movie is clearly from the first wave of feminism. One main theme in it is political reform and voting as a way to change society. Enola comes to realize while looking for her mother that her mother was part of feminist movements seen earlier in the movie in the women gathering and demanding privacy. Women's suffrage, featured many times in the movie, belonged to the first wave where women demanded for the right to vote. This right that can be seen as basic today was not given to women in the Victorian age. Eudoria raised Enola on many values to free her and make her a strong person despite the total rejection of the society to her ideas. This is another evidence. It says magazine of modern womanhood. The movie within waves of feminism, the magazine of modern womanhood, illustrate above shows the beginning of women's efforts to educate and teach women about their rights. The efforts of the women still seem basic and in the beginnings, judging from all the stereotypes and expectations around them in the movie. A woman should wear her gloves and hat, should cover their body, should find a husband, should eat, laugh, and dress in a specific way. Besides the first wave of feminism, we can see the way some women thought, which will be the fuel for later waves of feminism. Eudora and other women, such as Edith, learn how to read, how to defend themselves, how to not let men distract them from their goals, and how the future is in their own hands. Enola struggles motivating her fights. Yodoria raised Enola in a non traditional way. She learned chemistry, Jujitsu. It means the Japanese unarmed battle, and it is kind of physical training. Beside literature and feminist literature such as Mary Wollstonecraft, she was not taught how to dress like other women in the Victorian age, or how to eat and stand like them, or how to do embroidery. For this reason, her mother was seen as a mad mother, and she was seen as a failure and as wild and dangerous. Her brother said that she needs to be broken and built up. She was then forced to go to finishing school, where she was locked and taught how to live and behave like a female according to her educator in order to fit the society. Enola, however, did not accept that. Girls in this era, in Victorian era, have to laugh in a certain way. They are not free even in their way of laughing. The motivation of Enola's struggles, first because she was raised as a free soul and suffered from the society represented in her brother Mycroft and her teacher, who wanted to break her. She learns the value of freedom and finding oneself. Second, she saves Tewkesbury many times and even favors her being caught to him being caught because he is more important for the future of the government of England. Enola managed to get Tewkesbury back home and into his position to rule the country because he supports the reform that people of England needed. And the last thing, on the other hand, people who reject the reform, such as Mycroft and Tewkesbury's grandmother, fight Enola for who she is, but she ends up winning. 3. Intersectionality and social struggles. In this scene, as we see, I don't know what she wanted me to be. It illustrate the confusion of Enola after the disappear of her mother. Enola, as young girl, is not told by her mother who she has to be. This creates a crisis for Enola, especially when her brothers make her feel that she was not raised as a woman. Enola questions who she is or who she is raised to be. However, this is a big part of her mother's plans. She wanted her to find herself and not limit herself as a housewife who can cook for her husband, do embroidery, and please other people. Enola is raised to be something bigger and even left to make her independent and make her understand the world on her own. This is another scene and another evidence that the intersectionality and social struggle, that means it is the interconnected nature of social categorization such as race, class, and gender. Despite the life we see in the movie, where beautiful houses and rich people live a happy life. England suffered from many problems, and the women are no exception. Class struggle was a big problem, along with a government that kills the righteous people and blames the innocent. Hungary, hunger and poverty can be seen in the movie. Also, the idea of racial injustice can be seen as well, where black people are only seen in the streets selling newspapers. All the rich families who have authority are white. This injustice can be seen by people demanding reform, and Enola supports the reform and even risks her life to make it happen. This makes her mother proud of her at the end of the movie, answering Enola's questions about herself and pushing her to further find herself. Change in the Victorian age and the future. In this scene, um, it illustrates the alienation of Enola. The movie, being set in the Victorian age in both is both brilliant and inspiring. First, the women in the Victorian society have no rights and are only seen as decoration that need to look good and keep quiet. This brings back the raw picture of the patriarchal society to mind in order to show the audience a clear background of how women and feminism has evolved since then. Enola's actions, which can be seen against this background as not fitting, strange, and sometimes crazy, tell the audience that women have had to fight an ideology that was so deep in the society, even living, even living a carefree and spontaneous life seems so alien, and will definitely put a woman of that time as a mad woman. And this is another clear evidence. Despite the movie being set in the Victorian age, the message of the movie can be seen as summarizing and encompassing the whole feminist movement and perspective continuing until today. We can see the second movement of feminism in the way Enola's clothes and private life is criticized, while she rejects the norms and dresses how she wants, and also in her refusing to be only a housewife. We can see the third wave of feminism where race is not an issue and Edith is more than a waitress, but teaching women to defend themselves, and women are taught to find who they are. We can see the fourth wave of feminism in the magazine and writings that counter the misogyny and patriarchal discourse. As a conclusion, Enola Holmes is a great image of all waves of feminism. The setting is chosen in a brilliant way to make the actions of feminist characters appear in contrast to the raw and old patriarchal society. Enola has a great education from her mother, and despite everyone calling them mad and wild, she proves to be a success to England and to herself. The movie shows the many struggles of the society besides feminism coming together to push women to fight oppression of all kind. The movie employs clever techniques to make a good impression of a feminist character and leaves an ending open to invite everyone to follow Enola and find themselves. These are the references of my presentation. Thank you for listening.